What's up, guys? Happy New Year. Wanted to give you guys an update on the 220 gallon. Of course, this is not the 220, this is the 125, but it's looking so good. I wanted to show you is put another wave maker in there, and the reason why I did that is because there was not enough flow. So in the future, I'm going to be buying a different type of power head wave pump, and this is what it will be. I purchased this for the 220. So this one's a little strong, so what I plan on doing is buying the smaller version of this so it'll fit across. Love this thing. It is amazing, and I would recommend these for saltwater or freshwater only because they can get across the entire length of this tank. When these power heads are more directional, those ones have more of a flow pattern that spreads wider. So yeah, you're going to want one of these if you're looking for more of a wider spread, if you have the room for it. You can put them vertical or horizontal, so yeah. But I got a couple new guys in here. I got this orange OB peacock here, and he's amazing, man. Like, he's got so much blue in him, you can't really tell, but maybe you can tell a little bit on the camera, but it's not really doing him justice. All the white is like blue, man. It's like a shiny blue. It's awesome. And I have a female eye biter, just a little one. I had this male little guy, and hoping they'll pair up, but we'll see. She's having a hard time trying to eat. I've quarantined her. She was eating, and yeah, now she is not. So we're gonna see what happens with that. But a lot of these guys are getting moved out of here, and I'm going to ship them out to a buddy of mine, but not really ship. So I'm gonna bring them to him, and we're gonna go from there. But we're gonna talk about future projects at some point in an updated video on future projects. I have a lot of small projects coming soon, and how can I put this? Big things come in small packages, so we're gonna just leave that at there. So, all right, let's go check out the 220. What's up? All right, so on the side here, I've had a couple people ask me questions about how the side of these backgrounds work when they're finished. Yes, you can see the styrofoam, you can see the silicone, and you can see the circles that were marked. So if I was going to leave that alone, you'd see all of that, and it wasn't really going to be presentable in the sense of what I wanted. So instead of leaving it alone, I could have painted it, didn't paint it. I could have put some paper on there, didn't put that paper. Paper and water don't mix, but I did put paper on the back of the glass. And the funny story about that is I ended up going to the dollar store. They have these big sheets of paper for like 60 cents, and I got 4 black sheets of paper. I went out to my truck, put them in the back of the truck, nice, and made sure everything was going to be good on there, and closed the door, got in, got to my house, opened the door, and they blew out right into the snow and got soaked. So instead of using them on the sides, which I'm glad now that I didn't, I did use them on the back just to black out the back a little bit more. And this right here, I searched for a little while, and I came up with this idea. I went to a $5 and below store, and I purchased this stuff. It was a yoga mat, which is very weird, I know, but hold on. All right, so this is stuff. The yoga mat, it's more of like a memory foam type of a material. It's really, really nice, but I thought this would serve for two purposes here, and we'll go over that in a second. I don't know if you can see the thickness on there. It's pretty thick, which means it's gonna protect, but let's go back over to the tank. Okay, so this stuff being so thick is gonna serve as 2 purposes. Obviously, right here leads to my laundry room, and what happens is if anybody bumps into the tank right here, not to say they can't bump into the front of the tank, because it's still highly possible, but at least it helps out a little bit. If somebody bumps into it, it'll protect the glass a little bit more. So yeah, I got this on there. You asked me how I got it on. It's a pain in the, I ended up siliconing it onto the glass. Used a little bit of silicone, spread it out, stuck it on there, used a blow dryer, and it dried. So it turned out perfect. The hood still fixed on over it, and it still slides on and off. I've been having some issues with this tank. We're gonna move on from the yoga mat and stop doing yoga and move on to filtration. I put all of my plumbing in the sides here. I don't like this heater on the side here. from what I was reading, it could affect the longevity of the silicone. So what I plan on doing is taking this heater and putting it on the opposite side of these. I still need to adjust all this piping. I can only do so much with the holidays here. Well, a couple of things that I've been having issues with, and we'll go on the other side, is this side right here. It was absolutely ridiculous. I ended up having to put a power head. I had to chop some holes in this. Don't worry, the front is completely fine. You can't see anything, but I had to chop some holes in that in order to get the flow going correctly. Drove me nuts. But this tank is not completely done. I still have a lot to do. I have wiring. I still have some rocks up here that I'm going to make overhangs eventually at some point. I'm going to fill them up with something to keep them floating. I put some elbows on this part right here, and now it shoots out this hole. This one kind of shoots out in here. This power head's facing that hole, and I have a spray bar in here for my sun filter that's just spraying everywhere in there. I'm gonna eventually get in here and work on this. And my other debate at some point is, do I keep it on this side, the return on this side, or do I put the intake on this side? So yeah, so on this side you can see there's a couple little on the top, and then there's a lot more on the bottom. So I do know if I put the return on this side, it would get the sand a lot more. But the only other issue with that is, I think it would be better for the intake on this side pulling up from the sand and in, because that's where most of the stuff is going to lay, is on the sand, not just inside of floating in the water. So yeah, that was my next thing. I might switch those around, maybe play with it a little bit. I'm not sure. You got to have some more time. But because of that whole situation, there was not enough flow in this tank. And that leads me back to this. This wave maker had solved a lot of my problems. When I put the 220 gallon together, I walked away from it. I was exhausted, and it was ridiculous. I mean, I had to take all the filters out of here, obviously. I had to clear out this entire tank. I switched everything, hooked the filters up, and it was crazy. I put all the water that was in here in the other tank, filled it up with more. And then instead of leaving this alone, I had to take the sand and get that out of this house, because that sand will never, that's it. Like it's not good. I'm like almost speechless and wordless and stuttering because of how frustrating that sand was. But this sand right here is amazing. So yeah, this right here has saved me. It took a while for it to come into the mail, and my buddy helped me with this. He helped me out with this, so give you a huge shout out. Thank you very much. You know who you are, and I really appreciate it. This is already coming in handy. It didn't fit exactly how I intended it to fit, but it did fit. So let's go check it out, guys. Before we unveil this tank, I'd like to just walk you through the kind of like this final little step right here. This power head is working out beautifully. Now this part right here and this part right here is where the water flow comes from. And what happens, this one sprays out and that one sprays out, and both of them are adjustable, so they can both be in different directions, which is really nice. I have this one kind of pointed out differently in the tank, and so is this one. And the only issue I had with this is I can't put it sideways and up in here because of the rock work. So I had to put it the long ways for now and slammed over here in the corner, which I'm finding some issues with. I had a fish get stuck in between here last night, my linny, and it was really, really scary. So I kind of pushed this over a little bit so he can get out. That's all good now. But this is probably going to be behind the chamber once I start figuring out more flow. But momentarily, I wanted to make sure what was more important is to maintain this flow on the top of the tank. And surface agitation is key if you want to oxygenate your water properly. And yeah, we'll go over that another day. But for today, wanted to show you guys this. This is amazing. My whole tank was just a big dead area, and now with this, it's awesome. Everything's flowing properly. The only issue I have with it is it's on the front of the tank. Well, I guess you can't really get everything you ask for, but I tried. I was going to keep a hole in the front of it for this purpose, but I didn't, and that's my only regret. But I still have other solutions, which I'm going to explain that eventually and get to that point. All right, guys, be right back.